Have you ever wondered why one of the most famous philosophers in history, Diogenes, the man who rejected society itself, believed that marriage could destroy a man's soul? Imagine a man living in a barrel, owning nothing, laughing at kings, and mocking everyone who thought they were successful. This man, Diogenes of Sinope, believed that the world was full of illusions, money, fame, status, and yes, even love. To him, marriage wasn't sacred. It was a trap, a golden cage that slowly took away a man's freedom, his purpose, and his strength. Today, we're going to explore Diogenes' darkest truth: why men, according to his philosophy, should never get married. Before you get angry or defensive, stay with me. This isn't about hating women. This is about understanding human nature, freedom, and how society manipulates our desires. Because when Diogenes looked at men chasing marriage, he didn't see love, he saw slavery. Let's begin. Picture a man in his 20s. He's ambitious, full of dreams, wanting to build something great. But everywhere he looks, society tells him, find a nice girl, settle down, be a responsible man. It sounds harmless, right? But Diogenes would have laughed in their faces. To him, that idea was poison disguised as virtue. He believed most people didn't marry out of love. They married out of fear. The fear of being alone. The fear of being judged. The fear of not fitting into society's mold. He once said, "He who marries gives hostages to fortune." In modern words, it means when you get married, you hand your peace of mind to chance, because now your happiness depends on another person's emotions, moods, and expectations. Think about that. In today's world, men are told that marriage is a partnership. But Diogenes would ask, a partnership in what? He'd point to the modern man sitting in traffic, going to a job he hates, paying bills, buying gifts to keep his partner happy, and calling that love. To Diogenes, that wasn't love. That was slavery with extra steps. He believed that any relationship based on need or approval would always end in suffering. And maybe he wasn't wrong. Look around. How many people are truly happy in marriage? How many men slowly lose themselves, their energy, their goals, because they've become caretakers of someone else's happiness? Diogenes saw that when a man gives up his independence for comfort, he trades greatness for safety. And safety, he believed, was the enemy of the soul. He would have said, a man who cannot be alone will always be weak. And that's one of the darkest truths he left behind. Because if you need someone else to feel complete, you're already broken. Now let's go deeper. Diogenes lived like a beggar, but he was freer than kings. He slept in the streets, ate scraps, and mocked everyone chasing wealth and pleasure. When Alexander the Great, yes, the most powerful man alive, came to meet him and asked, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Diogenes just said, "Yes, step aside. You're blocking my sunlight." That's how free he was. He didn't need anything from anyone. Not approval, not possessions, not marriage. He believed marriage made men forget who they are, because once a man marries, he stops living for truth and starts living for peace. He becomes afraid of conflict, afraid of losing comfort. He becomes polite, agreeable, and tame. Diogenes despised tameness. To him, a man without fire, without rebellion, was already dead inside. He used to walk through the marketplace in broad daylight holding a lantern. When people asked what he was doing, he said, "I'm looking for an honest man." In other words, he couldn't find anyone who truly lived by their own values. Everyone was wearing masks. And marriage in his eyes was just another mask, pretending to be happy, pretending to be moral, pretending to be in love. You see, Diogenes didn't reject marriage because he hated women. He rejected it because he loved freedom. He saw how easily people became prisoners of each other's expectations. And maybe he'd look at modern relationships and say, "You're still doing it. You've just changed the furniture." Think about social media today. Couples post perfect photos, smiling, traveling, showing off their rings. But behind closed doors, many of them are miserable, fighting, bored, or emotionally distant. Diogenes would have called it all theater. He'd say, "You're performing love, not living it." And he'd be right. Because love, in his philosophy, wasn't about possession or validation. It was about respect between two free souls. Not two people trying to complete each other, but two individuals who are already complete, walking side by side. Most people don't marry like that. They marry because they feel empty and hope the other person will fill that void. But that's not love. That's dependency dressed up as romance. So Diogenes would say, if you must love, love like a free man. Don't need them. Choose them. And if they leave, let them. Now here's another dark truth. Diogenes believed society trains men to sacrifice themselves for approval. From childhood, men are told to provide, protect, and please. But no one teaches them how to protect their soul. They work themselves to death trying to be good men. But what is a good man, really? One who obeys? One who pleases others? Diogenes would have spit on that idea. He'd say, a good man is one who is free. A bad man is one who has sold himself for comfort. Marriage, in his eyes, was one of the biggest sales a man could make. You sell your time, your dreams, your silence, just to keep peace in a house that doesn't feel like yours anymore. You trade your purpose for approval. And when that happens, you lose the wildness that makes you alive. You stop being a lion. You become a pet. Diogenes would say, the modern man is not oppressed by tyrants. He's oppressed by his own comfort, and maybe that's why he lived in dirt, because he wanted to prove that a man who owns nothing fears nothing. Now imagine how Diogenes would look at the modern world, at the endless weddings, the Instagram proposals, the $50,000 ceremonies. He'd laugh. Not because love is bad, but because we've turned it into a show. A man will go into debt to impress people he doesn't even like. He'll put a ring on someone's finger, not because he's ready to love, but because he's afraid of being left behind. Diogenes would have said, better to sleep alone in the cold than share your bed with lies. Here's what's really dark about his truth. He believed most men don't actually want marriage. They just want peace. They want a stable home, someone to care for them, someone to stop the loneliness. But peace that comes from fear is fake peace. True peace, he said, can only come from self-sufficiency, from needing nothing. So he'd challenge modern men to ask, would I still want to marry if I had no fear of being alone? That question destroys illusions. Because when you're no longer afraid of being alone, you stop needing people. You start choosing them. And that's where love becomes real. Diogenes would also warn men about how comfort destroys greatness. A man who chases comfort, he'd say, forgets how to live. Dangerously, he'd tell the modern man that every great thinker, every conqueror, every artist became great because they refused to live safely. Marriage, if done wrong, makes men safe, too safe. They stop growing, they stop questioning, they stop challenging themselves. He might have said, you can't become wise if you're afraid to sleep alone. Now, this doesn't mean Diogenes wanted men to be cold or heartless. He simply wanted them to be strong enough to love without needing to possess, to care without clinging, to give without losing themselves. In today's terms, Diogenes would have said, if your happiness depends on someone staying, you're already enslaved. And that's his darkest truth. Marriage to him wasn't evil. It was dangerous, because it made men forget who they are. He'd tell men today to build themselves first, to find peace in solitude, strength in discipline, and meaning in purpose. Because once you've mastered yourself, you don't need anyone to complete you. You share your life because you want to, not because you have to. That's real freedom. So why did Diogenes believe men should never get married? Because most men aren't ready. They haven't learned to stand alone. They still look for happiness outside themselves. And until you stop doing that, every relationship you enter will be a form of quiet desperation. Maybe that's what he meant all along. Not that marriage is wrong, but that dependency is. So the real question isn't, should men get married? It's, are you free enough to love without losing yourself? And that's where Diogenes' wisdom becomes timeless. He'd remind us that love should be an act of freedom, not fear. That the strongest men are the ones who can walk away and still smile, and that a life without truth, even if it's full of comfort, is a slow death. So before you say, "I do," ask yourself, are you doing it from strength or from fear? From wholeness or from emptiness? Because Diogenes would have smiled and said, if you must marry, make sure you're not marrying your own weakness. And maybe that's the dark truth every modern man needs to hear. If this message hit you somewhere deep, if it made you think, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Do you agree with Diogenes? Or do you think he went too far? And if you want more wisdom like this, from the ancient minds who understood human nature better than anyone, hit that subscribe button. Stay strong, stay free, and remember, the greatest relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself.